Five, four, three. Hi, everybody. DUGROZ here with DUGROZ Reports. Welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Live. Thank you for joining in. Today is Saturday, June the 15th, 2024, and I am reporting live from my house as per usual. Mojo is on board, and Juan Garcia. Juan is a DUGROZ Diehard, a channel member, and says, "Good morning, Doug. Happy Father's Day weekend." Thank you. Likewise to you, if applicable, Juan, and any of the fathers out there. Hope you both have a good Father's Day weekend tomorrow. If I were to make a little plug for a Father's Day gift, I'm going to try to hold this up very carefully. This is my MOVA globe, which I mentioned last week, and it rotates using nothing but the power of the magnets inside it, the Earth's geomagnetic field, and light, whether it's artificial light or sunlight. It works either way. It does have to have a fair amount, not a huge amount, but a little bit in order to rotate. And of course, because of my hands, I can't hold it very steady. I'll say they're my sponsor today. How about that? I don't actually have a sponsorship, but I am an Amazon affiliate. So if you're watching this after the fact, I'll put a link down below. Thank you, Juan. Matt Clausen's on board also. And if you're wondering, today we have a theme of the day every Saturday. Now, you can ask me anything about points, miles, cash back, the world of credit card rewards. But today's theme is hotel chains for road tripping, and I am going to postulate or put out the theory that IHG hotels make the best hotels for road tripping, and that'll all come together and make a little more sense as we get closer to the main event. There is a poll at the top of the chat where you can pick the best hotel chain for road tripping. In other words, we're talking low-end hotels. These would be your more budget-oriented. I'm not saying you have to get a red roof or a Microtel or a Jim's roadside hotel for $30, Roach Hotel. But amongst the major choices, we've got IHG, Choice, Hilton, and something else. Unfortunately, it only lets me list 4 things. Otherwise, I would have included Hyatt. I don't think they'll win. Feel free to vote. It's a non-binding poll. John R. is here and says, "Good morning." Also a DUGROZ diehard. All right, let us dive into the DUGROZ data points of the week. Now, these are just things that I have noticed, observed, or like in the world of points and miles. And do me a favor, if you're on board and you haven't done so yet, please click the like button. That helps drive more people here. Put a comment over on the side, even if it's something just like hello. That'll tell the algorithm people are interacting and push this out to more people. Many of us are probably aware that most, not all, but most American Express cards have a couple of rarely used benefits that are around purchases themselves, not points and miles, as far as insurance protections. One of those is extended warranty. If you have a product that you buy that comes with a manufacturer's warranty, and the duration is less than 5 years, it will automatically add 1 year to that warranty and essentially mimic the manufacturer's warranty. There are certain limitations with that. If you've ever had an experience with that, let me know. The second one, and this is the one I'm going to focus on here, is called purchase protection. And purchase protection means that if you buy an item on your Amex card, and in the first 90 days, it is damaged by accident or stolen, you can apply for this purchase protection and get your purchase credited back to your credit card. So it's sort of like a built-in insurance. Well, I had one of those claims for the first time ever. So I have the Hilton Surpass card, which is issued by American Express. And on that Hilton Surpass card, my son purchased a guitar back in April. We paid for some. He paid for some with money he had saved up. Just a regular old acoustic guitar. And it wasn't a fancy one, but for me, even like a $243 guitar is a decent amount of money. Bought it online from a company called Sweetwater Sound. He wants to learn to play the guitar, bottom line. So about a week or two after we bought it, it was in the basement and it was on the ground in the box, but the lid was open, so it was exposed. And my son, the one who bought it, got into a little tussle with his brother and became upset. Took his cell phone out, which has an OtterBox case on it, thicker than this one even. It's the full blown OtterBox, and got angry at his brother, so threw the phone at his brother. Well, his aim was bad. He missed. Instead of hitting his brother, it went past him across the room and hit the guitar and put a crack in it about that long, about 4 inches long, and kind of caved in the face right below the hole where the strings are that make it sound all acoustic and stuff. It still works, but in the long run, that's going to affect the sound, and it doesn't look as good, and it probably doesn't perform as well. And hopefully you don't think my wife and I are terrible parents. We punished him appropriately, had a lecture about, letting our emotions get the better of us and those kind of things. But next up, what to do about the money part? Well, you did damage. This is your item. You're going to have to live with it. And he was willing to live with it, but we knew it was kind of a bummer. So I'm like, well, let me put in for purchase protection and just see what happens. Can't hurt to try. So a couple weeks later, I did that through the Amex. I don't remember if I used the site or the app. I think it was the site. And it was actually pretty easy. Just go to membership and benefits, scroll down to you find it. There's a link that says file your claim. And there was a form to fill out with a fair bit of information. Make sure you keep your records and receipts, the date you purchased it, who you purchased it from, what the dollar amount was, etc. And it said, your claim has been filed. Watch for an email from us. Got an email about 2 days later that says we have your claim. We need some documentation, which is basically just proof of purchase. We need a PDF file of the receipt, which fortunately I saved the receipt. So no big deal. Always save your receipts. Save it as a PDF file, uploaded it. It was kind of like a portal thing they gave you a passcode in the email or a claim number that you could use. And just waited. Nothing happened. No one called me. Sure enough, a few days later, wouldn't you know it, something happened. And I'm going to share my screen and show you what happened. Sorry for the delay. The tension is building. Sure enough, a few days later, there it was, a statement credit for the exact price we paid for the guitar, $243.79. Well, doggone it. What do you know? It worked. They honored the purchase protection. It was easy. They didn't even ask questions. Honestly, I was a little concerned at first because it said in the description box something like intentional damage is not covered. And I thought, well, he threw his phone intentionally, but he wasn't trying to hit the guitar. That part was an accident. And I was totally honest in the description box. I said exactly what happened. My son threw his phone across the room and missed his target. I don't think I said brother. Missed his target and hit the guitar instead. And they just rolled with it. Now, if it was a larger amount, would they have asked some more questions? I don't know. The purchase protection is subject to certain limits. The limit is $1,000 per purchase maximum. Unless it's a natural disaster, then it's $500 per purchase. I suppose if it's a natural disaster, they think you should be filing with your own personal insurance. $50,000 per year is the maximum reimbursement. And again, this applies to many American Express cards, even some of the basic ones like the Blue Cash Preferred, Blue Cash Everyday. But I didn't open the terms and read them, so I don't know if they're all the same or some are different. So make sure you check your card. Always do your own research for terms and conditions. I've had kind of the thought for a while, like anytime I buy a durable good, something that could actually get damaged, like a laptop computer or a guitar or a globe, a new bed frame, something like that, like an actual physical product that could get damaged, a washing machine, something like that. I've been using Amex cards for this reason. This just reinforces that. And I think part of the reason is other companies have insurance type protections, but from what I've read, at least anecdotally, Amex is the only company that handles their insurance internally. So I can't help but wonder if they looked and were like, this guy's a pretty reliable customer. Let's just pay. It's not that much, instead of farming it out to some other company. That's it. That was the first DUGROZ data point. Success with my MS purchase protection. I might make that one into a standalone video. If you can hear me loud and clear, put a comment over here, please. I haven't seen any comments for about a minute, and that makes me a little concerned. Thank you to the 19 people that have joined in. Thumb would be appreciated. All right, so next up, I've only got two things for DUGROZ data points this morning, and this one is just an update on the cards that I have and sort of my overall portfolio of credit cards. Seriously, can anybody hear me? I haven't seen a comment in like 3 minutes. Okay, John can hear me. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Enough about that. So I like to keep you folks updated on just sort of my folio of credit cards, everything I have, the full spectrum. So I've had a few changes recently. So let's go ahead and hear at what I got. So this is coming into the month of May. This is what it looked like. And this is myself plus player two combined, including business cards. So this is everything in our household. There were 31 cards. Shortly into the month of May, one of them went away. If you look at the top right corner, you'll see that's the U.S. Bank Business Triple Cash Card. Because I now have the State Farm card, business card from the same issuer, many of the same benefits. It's a no annual fee card, so there's not a lot of harm. Yeah, I know I could have kept it for the software benefit, but I'm really craving simplicity right now, so I just went ahead and canceled that, which put me at an even 30, which is easy to represent. It's a nice rectangle, 5 by 6. And then since then, here in the month of June, a couple other movements. 2 more cards have gone away, and those cards are the IHG Premier Card for my wife. I'm holding it up, but I don't know how well it shows. This is the personal version of the IHG card. And then also my wife has a Freedom Unlimited, which basically never gets used. So we canceled that as well. Now, the rationale for canceling those. On the IHG card, I also have an IHG. Those of you who are super loyal and watch all my videos know that back in early January, I traveled to the Chicago area, used my wife's free night certificate to stay in a hotel. And while it worked, it was a little clunky. Fortunately, it was not a busy time, and the receptionist there at the hotel was willing to work with me and change it to connecting rooms. But there's just the risk if I use her free night certificate during a time when I'm not with her that they wouldn't honor it. And I don't really want to just keep that going. Plus, it just feels duplicate. We did use IHG points big time for a while. Haven't used hers in a while. There's still some left. Good news is that my plan was to wait until her $99 annual fee posted and then check every few days until the free night certificate that comes with the card landed in her account. Hopefully I could cancel it, keep the free night certificate, and get the $99 refunded. And it worked, I'm pleased to say. So about a week after the annual fee posted, I went into her account. The FNC was in there. I called Chase with her on the line also, of course, canceled the card. And the person on the phone even said, of course, you'll still get to keep your IHG points, which I knew. On these co-branded cards, the points live at IHG, not at Chase. So once you have the points in your account, they're there. And I didn't have any pending charges or anything like that. So that was not an issue. So got that refund, saved a $99 annual fee. Again, simplicity. It is a good card. It pays for itself. I just felt like in our personal situation, my wife almost never travels by herself. She's almost always with me when she travels. Again, craving simplicity. Same argument on the Freedom Unlimited. There's no harm in having that card, but it's just one more card to keep track of, one more potential sort of authorized user on that if we need to, and that'll do the exact same thing functionally. Chase will let you, as long as you get a representative that knows what they're doing, move credit around and cancel a card on the same call. So I think on the IHG card, we moved all but $1,000, because I think that was the minimum you have to keep the card open, all but $1,000 over to my wife's Freedom Flex card. And we moved the entire credit limit, which I was surprised they allowed. I figured I had to keep at least 500 on there. We moved the entire credit limit from the Freedom Unlimited over to the Freedom Flex. So it doesn't affect her overall credit card usage. So the effect on her credit score should be incredibly minimal. Philmo has arrived. Also, DUGROZ Diehard says, great to see the Wells Fargo Gold Pony card. Good morning to all. Yep, that's his favorite looking card, and it's one of my favorite too. It looks nice. So those two cards have gone away, and what that means is we've got 29 credit cards. 29 is kind of a weird number. Like, how do you arrange that? This was my best effort to kind of keep things. Oops, I forgot to mention. Preview. 28 cards is what we had. 28. Then there was another change. So you'll notice filling one of these two gaps here is the Chase Inc. Business Preferred right here, right above this gap. That's a card that I referred my wife to, and she was instantly approved for. And kind of a small credit limit, only $5,000, but we'll make it work. To get the sign-up bonus, we have to spend $8,000 in the first 3 months. I'll use at least one of my parents' assisted living payments on that, and that should cover well over half. And then the rest I think we'll be fine with. I made a couple other small payments already on various things. This is not because I really want my wife to have a Inc. Business Preferred long run. Frankly, we're just playing the Inc. referral train game. So I thought about doing a business cash or a business unlimited, because that's no annual fee. The public offer at the time I did this, I think this is still the case, was $75,000 on the business cash and business unlimited, $100,000 on the Inc. Business Preferred. So basically I had to decide, am I willing to pay a $99 annual fee for an extra 25,000 Chase points? Well, that's pretty easy math to decide on. Just take 99 divided by, I think it's actually 95, but let's say 99, 25,000. That means you're buying your Chase points at 0.39 cents per point, or roughly 0.4 cents per point. Well, I will play that game all day long. I'll be happy to buy Chase points, which I can always redeem at least 1.5 at 0.4. That's an easy decision. So I just went for the business preferred simply because it had the bigger offer. Thomas Happyuk is here, also a diehard, and comments noticing that the Wyndham card is still there. It is. It's still there. Some thoughts towards cancellation, but the more I'm getting into this sort of road trip, budget travel type feel, the more I'm thinking I should really keep that. It's a pretty good card, but willing to change my mind. Cesar Joel is also on board. Mi hermano, thank you for being here. Manuel Jimenez is here. Thank you, Manuel, also a DUGROZ diehard. So if I rearrange the stack here to make it just look a little more attractive, it kind of goes, get it? All right, so we're just about ready for the main event here, but before I get into that, I will mention two things. First of all, my channel does have memberships. I call it a DUGROZ Diehard. That's my one and only membership level. It's $3 a month, and you can cancel anytime. It's a great way to support the channel. The main benefit to being a DUGROZ Diehard is, first of all, I respond to your comments, but secondly, I do have several members-only videos, about 30 of them. In fact, it's over 30 at this point. I'm pretty confident. If you want to know about how I use points to take care of my parents' assisted living bills, some manufactured spending, some thoughts on like bias and credit card referrals, things that are just too touchy to be on the general YouTube algorithm, where you go. You got to join as a DUGROZ Diehard. Speaking of, Sean D is here, also a DUGROZ Diehard. Good morning. And If you join while the live stream's going, there'll be a little like celebration thingy over here on the side, and we'll have a good old time. Also, if you want to drop a super chat or a super thanks, you can just give me money just to be nice. And I hate to beg for money, but I kind of don't, because that's all going towards my technology fund. By the time we get to June 20th, I should have enough to buy a laptop, but I'll probably wait and take care of that after we get back from Washington, D.C., which is in first half of July, just for the sake of simplicity. But I also need a new microphone. I need a new phone. So all of those are going back into the channel. If you want to give a creative amount, feel free. I even am pleased with weird amounts like $1.37 or something like that. All right, so let's dive into today's main event. The topic of the day is road tripping related to IHG hotels mostly. And before I dive into the topic, I need to explain what inspired this. Excuse me. Sorry, folks. Got to blow my nose here. I was researching the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey, the new-ish card that came out, $95 annual fee. Pretty much the same as the Wells Fargo Autograph, except there's a few differences. The main ones being instead of 3x on all travel, you get 3x on general travel, but you also get 4x on flights and 5x on hotels. So at first blush, it kind of seems like the ultimate road tripping card for someone that's staying in lots of different hotels. So one of the things I'm working on right now, and hopefully it'll drop soon, although I can't give a guarantee, is to produce a standalone video where I really dig in and analyze the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey. In doing so, to be fair, I think you have to compare it to, instead of being a free agent, what if you are loyal to one hotel chain or two hotel chains? Is it better? How much better is it? Is the juice of being loyal to Choice or Hilton or IHG or Hyatt, is the juice worth the squeeze? So in order to give a realistic comparison, I thought to myself, all right, DUGROZ, first we got to take a step back. And that's what we're doing today. I have already done live streams where I dig into Choice properties, like in a road trip setting or just a general setting, and say, if I'm somewhat cherry picking, what do I find for a reasonable value? I did the exact same thing with Hilton. I went around the horn and found out what I wanted to value those currencies at. I did a video a long time ago, a very long time ago, a standalone video about the IHG rewards program, but honestly, it's kind of out of date, so I need to refresh it. And then I also did a live stream maybe 6 months ago where I talked about IHG in general, but I did not apply it to cents per point or a dig on cents per point. I didn't apply it to this context where we need to know exactly how much value we're getting. So that's what I'm going to endeavor to do today. If you're wondering, as a refresher, I have assigned the following. So I'm mostly going to be looking at IHG, Choice, and Hilton. I know other things exist, but that's just what I've had the time to do so far and what's appealed to me. I had declared Hilton points for my personal value with a pretty high degree of cherry picking to be worth 0.85 cents per point on average, with an average of 1 cent per point if you're using the fifth night free. And then when it came to Choice hotels, I declared my average value to be 1.25 cents per point, and they don't have any sort of fifth night or fourth night free, so that didn't apply. So today we're going to try to figure out what that comes out to for IHG properties. Catching up with comments briefly, Sylvia says, good morning. Looks like a deck of cards to play poker with. I agree. Thank you. Sam K is here, my friend from the United Kingdom, and says, sorry I'm late. YouTube didn't notify me again. YouTube. Don Kim has arrived, and Thomas Happy says, I do a lot of overnight travel for work, so I love this content. Thanks, D. You are welcome. All right. Sharing my screen and diving in, I'll give my standard disclaimer. I'm still using my old Chromebook with 8 units of RAM, and it's a little slow when I share my screen, so my voice won't match my mouth, but as long as you can hear me, that's the important part. If for some reason you are no longer able to hear me, that's when you should speak up and let me know. Air trip, San Diego, staying at Marriott Vacation Club. If sometimes it seems like I have a hard time reading comments, it's because on my computer, YouTube puts this stupid little heart thing where you can either click heart or celebrate, and it covers like 1 or 2 words of the most recent comment. I wish they wouldn't do that. They need to put it in a different location. All right. So I will admit I did most of this last night after 9 p.m. So I picked somewhat at random. And what I was trying to find is the lower end, more affordable IHG properties where I think you can get decent value. So that mostly means we're shooting for around 20 to 25,000 points per night, is kind of based on just a feel I had about IHG properties. All of these properties are either places that I have stayed or that I would like to stay. And just to clarify, I don't mean the exact hotel, but the geographic area is either a place that I have stayed or a place I would like to stay. YouTube says I have 41 people on board, but only 14 people have clicked thumbs up. So if you haven't yet, please take a second to do that. So let's dive in. We're going to have 4 example properties, and these are all budget-minded, low-end. When I say low-end, I don't mean crappy. I just mean budget, more affordable. Like Manuel says, if you have, a lot of overnight work travel, this is the kind of place your company might put you up for the night. Example number 1 is the Staybridge Suites in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's called Medical Center because I'm assuming there's a hospital nearby, obvious reasons. This property is 24,333 points for the night. And on June 23rd, it says June 23rd to 34th. That's a typo. First of all, there is no June 34th. June 23rd and 24th, just one night. You can get a 1 king bed studio room for $160, and this includes taxes. You divide that by the 24,333 points, and that comes out to 0.7 cents per point. Well, that's interesting because my unofficial valuation before I even tried doing sampling, just kind of in my head based on anecdotes, was 0.7 cents per point on the redemption side. So that was very consistent. Oh, hey, look, Zachary Hageland has dropped a super chat. I really appreciate that. And he says, I find hotel locations and price the top of mind, not loyalty to a specific brand. Sometimes they are not all the brands to choose from. There are not all the brands to choose from in every town. That's absolutely true. When I was in West Virginia and went to Blackwater Falls, I stayed at a Airbnb in a tiny house because the nearest hotel was an hour away, and I didn't want to drive that far. Thank you so much, Zachary. I really appreciate that. You're very kind. Remember, there is that poll. You can vote on the best hotel chain for road tripping. Still going. Looks like IHG has a narrow lead at this point. Example number 2 is a Holiday Inn Express in Waynesboro, Virginia. Oh, I said all of these places are either places that I have been or places that I would like to go. Little Rock, Arkansas. My family did go to a place called Springfield Hills or Springfield Lake, something like that, in Little Rock, Arkansas, right when I got into points and miles. And we stayed at like I'm not even sure what it was. I think it was like a Wyndham vacation rental, not Vacasa, but like they have their own like long-term condo rental type thing. Although I did it through them. I used hotels.com. But someday I'd like to go back and see Little Rock itself. So there's my tie-in. Also, interesting fact: one of my sons, when he was young, I asked them like where they would want to live if they could live anywhere, and he decided on Arkansas. And he had all these statistical reasons. I'm not sure what they were, but that always comes to my mind. Property number 2 is a Holiday Inn Express. That's what HIE stands for. Holiday Inn Express in Waynesboro, Virginia. Now, I was just out there in April. I flew into Charlottesville, Virginia. Waynesboro is just basically one town west of Charlottesville. It's kind of the next moderately sized metropolitan area. So I actually thought about there. Didn't stop at this hotel, but the town looked perfectly cromulent. This is called the Holiday Inn Express and Suites Waynesboro East, 21,000 points per night. So in the near future here, June 20th and 21st, 2024, you can get a 2-queen standard room with tax. Prices are very low this night, only $126. And it's got more than 4 stars, 21,000 points. That comes out to 0.6 cents per point. I think Holiday Inn Expresses are very solid properties. They seem to have everything you need, everything you might want. Free breakfast. Usually they're clean. Can't think of a bad experience I've had at one. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. Obviously, check your Google reviews. Next up is the Intercontinental Riverfront in St. Paul, Minnesota. I know I've got a couple viewers from the St. Paul area. I can't remember which ones right off the top of my head, so speak up if that's you. I stayed at the Hotel Ivy, which was in the other Twin City, Minneapolis. Hey, why not check out an Intercontinental? This is called the Intercontinental St. Paul Riverfront, 4.5 stars. I'm guessing it's right next to the river. Speculation. 22,000 points, so right in that meaty 20 to 25,000 point range. And tonight, this very night, you can get a 2-queen classic room. You could pay $181 after tax, or take your 22,000 points, and that comes out to 0.8 cents per point. So right in that meaty middle. Now, this was surprisingly affordable. I'm staying in Intercontinental in Washington, D.C. this summer, and it's way more per night than that, and it's way more points than that. In fact, I think it was either 60 or 70,000 points per night, but I suppose location, what's going on, obviously, Washington, D.C., give or take 3 weeks from 4th of July is going to be pretty busy. Next up, and last but not least, or maybe last and least, Holiday Inn Express in Ottumwa, Iowa. Not only have I been to this town, this is where I was born and raised. So this is my hometown, Ottumwa, Iowa, southeast part of the state. The Holiday Inn Express in Ottumwa is a flat 20,000 points. And let's say you're going in the fall, you want to go to Oktoberfest and eat some bratwurst. You're a month behind schedule, but that's okay. November 15th through 16th, you can get a 2-queen standard room for $148, or you can pay per point. So those are the 4 examples I pulled out. Now, these were not cherry-picked examples. In other words, I didn't go through and only pick the better cents per point. I was just looking for hotels in that 25,000 and under range, and these are the 4 I came up with. So in some ways, this is more fair than what I did with the Hiltons, where the Hiltons I was cherry-picking. These were only slightly cherry-picked. They were cherry-picked based on availability and point cost, not on cents per point. Let me catch up with my comments here. Manuel Jimenez says, I'm on a weekend air trip to San Diego, staying at a Marriott Vacation Club. Awesome. I have left Marriott out of my comparison, frankly, just because I haven't gotten around to it. I'm kind of ignoring them and pretending they don't exist right now. But if somebody wants to talk me into the value of Marriotts for road tripping, go for it. Tom DeCaus says, I have used the Altitude Reserve purchase protection as well as Amex, both only once, both in the $500 range, both very easy paying a claim. That's good to know. I bought our, it was either a washer or dryer, I don't remember which one of the two, with the Altitude Reserve. Fortunately, it works just fine, so I haven't needed to file a claim. Filmo says, Mr. Roz stays at Holiday Inn Express. Dr. Doug only stays at Kimpton's. That's exactly right. Those are my 2 different internal personalities. TH says, good morning, Doug. That's me. I live 2 miles away from Minneapolis Hotel Ivy. Intercontinental in St. Paul is a great property. Excellent views. Thanks, TH. Appreciate that. Now that you say it, it all is flooding back to me. Someday we're going to meet there at Mike's Bar, and I'm going to try the Juicy Lucy along with you. All right, so let's move along here. And this is not a thorough review, but take my four hotel average and just see what we come up with here. So let's refresh our memories. The Staybridge Suites in Little Rock, that's what they call it as a nickname, is my understanding, Little Rock. You've got 160 divided by 24.3, that's 0.7. The Holiday Inn Express in Waynesboro, Virginia. You got Lil and Wayne. Waynesboro, Virginia, $126 or 21,000 points. That's 0.6. The Intercontinental in St. Paul, we've got 181 or 22,000. That comes out to 0.8. And then my hometown, the Holiday Inn Express in Ottumwa, 148 divided by 20,000. That's 0.7 cents per point. I used my calculator just to make sure I was doing it right, but this is a really easy average. Anyone who's finished 5th grade should be able to do this. You've got 2 properties at 0.7. You've got one that's 1 notch below and one that's 1 notch above. So what does that average out to? That averages out to 0.7 cents per point. So basically, my guess was exactly what it came out to. If you do the math where you take the values, like let's use this last one as an example. You take 20,000 times 3, because you're getting your 4th night free. That's 60,000 points. You got your 150-ish points, roughly $450. Divide that by 60,000 points. And you're going to get, with 4th night free, 0.986 cents per point is your average. Can we just call it 1 cent per point? It's really close. I think we can. So I'm going to round that up to 1 cent per point. So let's stop for just a second here, because I don't remember what's on the next screen. Oh, yeah. And just talk about what we have discovered so far. Sorry, my screen went blank there for a second. Zachary Hagelin said, that's a good price for that IHG property. Must not be a concert this weekend at the Excel Energy Center. Are you talking about Minneapolis, I'm assuming? Manuel says, I like the Marriott Fairfield Inn. Am I remembering correctly that Fairfield Inn is to Marriott as Hampton is to Hilton, I think, or Holiday Inn Express is to IHG. In other words, it's their entry-level free continental breakfast property. That sounds for me. Tell me if I'm wrong. So you'll remember a couple different things that I want to point out. First of all, that poll is still going, and the leader is still IHG at 40% for the best road tripping hotel. Second place is Choice at 24%. Something Else at 20%. And only 16% for Hilton. So Hilton is losing. So now I'm going to take just a moment or two to compare Hilton, Choice, and IHG. So Hilton, I'll start with that. You'll remember I said 0.8 cents per point, 1 cent per point if you're using 5th night free. I think the advantages, and again, I'm thinking from a road trip point of view, not from we're not talking when, Uncle Luke flies down to the Conrad Fort Lauderdale. That's a great redemption, but that's not what we're talking here. We're talking road tripping stuff. Hilton, to me, is the program where it's easiest to get a lot of points. And that's partially because they're credit cards and sign-up bonuses. Said credit cards have good earnings, like 6x on the Surpass at grocery stores would be an example. But then mostly because you can transfer from Amex to Hilton. Now, some people are going to say, Amex points are designed for international flights. You got to get your 8 cents per point or your 12 cents per point. I'm not sure whose voice I'm trying to imitate there. If you're only thinking math, that's true. But what if you're someone like me that only flies internationally once every other year? I've got enough points that I can transfer some to Hilton and still hold some back and save it for those flights. Normally, it's a 1-to-2 transfer from Amex to Hilton. I would generally not do that. I would probably wait until there's a bonus. Uh, Pretty frequently a 20%, usually at least once a year, there's a 30% bonus, which turns it into 1 to 2.6. I find that when you have that 30% bonus and you can do 1 to 2.6, you're getting pretty good value. You're getting up around the neighborhood of 2.25, 2.5 cents per point of those Amex points. Can you do better than that? Yeah. But what if my family really wants to stay at the Hilton Embassy Suites in Washington, D.C.? Am I supposed to say, nope, the value's not good enough? So it's easy to get a lot of points with Hilton, and you can get around those caps. Another reason I really like Hilton is they're super family friendly for two reasons. One is point pooling. So I think you have to have your account open for 60 days. But once you've had a Hilton Honors account, even the free one, you don't even have any status, you can send your points to any other Hilton person for free. There's no penalty and it's instantaneous. So guess who has a Hilton account? Me, my wife, my mom, my dad, my sister. So if there's a need, my points over to mom, dad over to me, sister to mom. We just send the points where they need to go. I have gold status, which is the best status, so I'm probably going to be doing most of the bookings. So those bookings have gold status and get your food and beverage credit and those sorts of things. And then the guaranteed connecting rooms is a really big deal. I don't know why other hotels don't get on board with this, but I don't like the call the hotel. What type of connecting rooms do you have? Well, it has to be a king to a queen. Okay, hang up, go online, make your booking. Wait until 2 weeks before you arrive, call back. Can you put me in connecting rooms? I do that, but I don't like it. I want to just have it online, and I want it to be guaranteed, doggone it. I also like with Hilton, you can check in and find the room of your choice. And not every property, but many, just pick your room right there. Boom! I did that when I went to watch the solar eclipse in Alton, Illinois. So those are some advantages to Hilton. Choice hotels, I rated at 1.25 cents per point with cherry picking, and Hilton had cherry picking too. I'm going to talk about cons in just a moment and sort of an overview. But if I'm just thinking pros, choice hotels are everywhere. I mean, you can find a Quality Inn, a Comfort Inn in a town with a population of 3,000. I drove from Colorado Springs to the Des Moines area several years ago. I think this was before I was into Points and Miles. And there's this little town in western Nebraska. I think it's called Colby. And in the entire town, there's 2 hotels. There's a Sleep Inn and a locally owned no-name hotel. I stayed at the Sleep Inn. It was great. No problems whatsoever. When my family went to Arizona early in my Points and Miles journey and went to Grand Canyon and Antelope Canyon and Glen Canyon Dam, we stayed at a Sleep Inn for like 6 nights in a row. It was fine. There was no problems. So there are some good everywhere hotels. Now, when we come to cons, there are some cons too with that. Another big advantage to choice is those transfers 1 to 2 from either Wells Fargo or Citi. And those are always there. That's not just a sometimes thing. And that's a really big deal. That's why I've been getting into choice hotels more lately. And then IHG, we just now rated at 0.7 cents per point, 1 cent per point if you're using fourth night free. Fourth night free in and of itself is a big deal. Now, the fourth night free and the fifth night free probably don't apply to road trippers as much. But maybe you're a kind of sort of road tripper where you fly into a town, stay for business, or stay for 4 days. For example, last year's creator meetup in Las Vegas, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express 4 nights in a row, got fourth night free. And to me, the difference between fourth night free and fifth night free is pretty huge. There's lots of times I'm going to be using 4 nights in a location, but not 5. For example, the Intercontinental Washington, D.C., staying 4 nights, get that fourth night free. And then I also wrote down Best Western just because I have done a video and researched it. And I also put Best Western at 0.7 cents per point. So exactly the same as IHG. Of course, the problem with Best Western is they don't have any, they aren't really in our space very much. There is a card. It's issued by First National Bank of Omaha. It's kind of obscure. So, um, I'm not going to talk about Best Western a lot. But if somebody wants to talk me into Best Westerns, by all means, please do it. Hey, I just got a super chat from TH. He said, "Juicy Lucy on me. Keep up the great work." Interestingly, I was in a meeting at work not too long ago. Somebody mentioned going to Minneapolis and buying a Juicy Lucy. I'm going to catch up on comments in just a little bit, and then we will go over our formal pros and cons and how I would vote in the poll. So we're going to take our first biology break, also known as an intermission. Some of you will have a commercial, and some of you will not. If you just stare at the blank wall, I'm going to give you some entertainment today, and my unofficial sponsor here, you'll get to look at my MOVA globe and watch it rotate using nothing more than the power of the sun. So if you do get an advertisement, just watch it, because that helps support my channel. I'll be back in 90 seconds. Please don't go anywhere. How many of you are fans of the classic Simpsons? Raise your hand. I think Lisa's class watches a video that's like an old film strip, and it says, "The moon belongs to America. Maybe someday man will land on the moon." I don't know why that's making me think of it. This company, MOVA, does have multiple types of globes. This is just one of them. They also have one that's the moon. Again, not a sponsor, but if you're watching this after the fact, I'll later on drop in a link to Amazon, either in a pinned comment or in the description box. Cool Father's Day gift, and I get like a 1 or 2% commission, something like that, if you want to go that route. So thank you for hanging in there through the intermission. Moving this off to the side. My lectern for my professorial endeavors here. I actually built a stool when my boys were little because they couldn't reach the bookshelf, but now I use it for just holding things up, pretending to be a professor, whatnot. Thank you again, TH, for the super chat of the $3. I appreciate that. I need to catch up on comments here. Sam K says you could perform a defragmentation. I've tried that. It helps a little, but not a lot. Manuel Jimenez says I'm right about the Fairfield Inns being the entry-level Marriott property. John R. says Hilton and choice for me, but I'm different, so it's okay to be different. Zachary Hageland, also the DUGROZ Diehard. Yeah, that's the Minnesota Wild Hockey Arena in St. Paul. Lots of other events are there too, which change the hotel prices significantly. Okay. Now, something I've found with Hilton, and I haven't investigated it with IHG, I found this to be true with Hilton and Choice, is that although they are dynamically priced, it seems to be less elastic on the point side than on the um, cash price side. For example, when I was in Charlottesville, my first night was at a Country Inn, which is part of Choice since they merged with Radisson. And it was like over $400 for one night, just a plain old Country Inn. Well, I later found out because somebody on the airplane told me there is a home softball game. Well, I knew there was a home softball game, but what I later found out is it was senior night. So all the grandmas and grandpas of the softball players were flying into town. That's where University of Virginia is located. So the point price went up like 20%, but the cash price went up like 300%. So that's why I was able to get such good cents per point. So yeah, sporting events, big events, concerts, those kind of things, points often come in handy. John R. said, my funny voice sounded curiously familiar. I use weird voices all the time. Cesar says, it's difficult to beat Choice if you have Citi or Wells Fargo cards. I've stayed a couple of times, and it's easy to find 2 or more cents per point on the Citi or Wells Fargo side. Well, yeah, if I average them at 1.25 on the Choice side, that means I should be getting 2.5 on the Wells Fargo or Citi side. Thomas Happy says, no more room upgrades on Best Western status. Huh. Filmo, who had sun-powered globe on their DUGROZ bingo card? Well, I like to keep you guessing. Sam K says, it's amazing how Google miraculously shows your advertisements from a completely different website of something you're looking at, but they never show beautiful women that people have Googled. I'll leave you to your own thoughts there, Sam. We do need the link for the globe. I will be sharing that. Maybe I'll even do it at the very end when people start dropping off and stuff. Icarus warned me about not defragging solid-state drives. I think probably a Chromebook is a solid-state drive. Either way, it's kind of a moot point because I'll be getting that new computer soon. All right, so now it's time to reveal my picks. The plurality of the voters, 26 votes, says IHG is the best road trip hotel at 42%. I hope you're not being swayed just because of the fact that I titled this video Road Tripping and Choice Points. All right, I have a graphic here, a real high box knocked off. Here it is. All right, so I'm going to summarize. I did pros before. Now I'm going to do pros and cons. Hilton, great quality. I have found that, like, if you just want consistency of the product, Hilton probably does it best. In fact, I can't think of a Hilton that I've ever stayed at that has been a big disappointment. Some are better than others, but never a big disappointment. Disadvantage is a high point cost. I'm finding more and more people saying things like Hilton pesos and Hilton penny points and just feeling like you can cherry pick, admittedly, but like, you know, a simple, what's their equivalent of Staybridge Suites? It's not Homewood Suites. It's the one that's a notch down from there. I don't remember. One of their entry-level hotels once, it was like 65,000 points for like a Thursday night, and there was nothing going on. I'm like, why is this so expensive in points? You're going to see a lot of properties out there with Hilton where it's like 0.2, 0.3 cents per point. Obviously, since you can buy in at half a cent point, don't do that. Just pay cash if that's the case. And then mediocre value, kind of what I was just going for. When I cherry picked Hiltons, I was able to come up with an average of 0.85, but I had to do a lot of cherry picking to get there. So great value. I don't think as great on the point value side. Excuse me. Great quality. I love the connecting rooms. I love the points pooling. I love the fact you can earn a lot of points easily. The value is sometimes sus. You have to look for diamonds in the rough. Value-wise, not quality-wise. IHG, good to great quality. I'd say it's a notch down from Hilton on the whole, but still pretty good. A moderate point cost and good value. So when I did my searching, I was looking for IHG properties that cost between 20 and 25,000 points per night. I found a lot. There are a truckload of those out there. It's easy to find an IHG property for 20 to 25,000. It's getting harder and harder to find a Hilton property for 20 to 25,000. Can it be done? Yes. About 2 years ago, I stayed at a Hampton Inn by Hilton in Clinton, Iowa, and it was 20,000 points a night. So it does exist, but again, that was 2 years ago. A long time ago, when I first got into points and miles in 2019, my hometown Hampton Inn in Ottumwa was only 10,000 points for a night. Well, those days are long gone. I think IHG is better on that front. You're going to find a lot more properties. You're going to find a truckload of properties in that 20 to 25,000 point range. And then if I'm thinking about choice hotels, variable quality. So with choice, you've got a range. I looked up a Roadway Inn in the south side of Chicago that was like, I'm pretty sure there was drug deals going on the day they took these pictures. The rooms had like ick on the wall and moldy goo. Anthony Venture did a video about his $50 hotel stay just because he wanted to use his CSP credit, the $50 one, and he found like a $62 Quality Inn, and it had some very variable quality to it. I don't think he actually spent the night. Yeah, so you're going to find a lot of variation. Then again, that Country Inn I stayed at, Charlottesville, Virginia, was excellent. I would have been happy to spend all 4 nights there. I stayed at a Quality Inn here in Des Moines, a Country Inn in Des Moines that was more not good, not bad, just sort of and then you've got a few Quality Inns or Comfort Inns or Roadway Inns that are like, So that's where that falls. So I'll give you my verdict now. I'm willing to change my mind in the future, but as the title suggests, if you're going to force me to pick, I'm going to take the middle ground here, IHG. And I think IHG is the winner just because of consistency. Those Holiday Inn Expresses are everywhere. And like I said, I've never had a bad one. I'm sure they exist. Obviously, most of us are savvy enough travelers to read the Google reviews anyway. So if it's bad, we're probably not going to stay there. But I think while Hilton is better at quality, I think IHG is good enough to make up for those other points. And I think I would rather pay an average of 20 to 25,000 points than an average of 40 to 50,000 points for my Hampton Inn, my Fairfield Inn, my Holiday Inn Express, my Sleep Inn type properties. With choice, they're everywhere, but the quality is just too variable. It seems like anytime I consider one, I'll read the reviews and I'll find a couple really compelling reviews that tell me don't stay there. So you got to be more picky than that. So that's where I landed. And I don't remember if I have another slide after this one. Nope. That's for when we get to the community tab questions in a little while. Catching up with the comments. Riff Raff EH is on board and said, I checked into the Venetian last week in the VIP line with my IHG Platinum status. The regular line had 100 people in it. Also had a 2 p.m. checkout. Wow. And that's the status you get with just either $99 IHG cards, whether it's the business version or the personal version. Either way. Oh, I was going to go over the credit cards, and I forgot to do that. Well, I'll save that for the time permitting section. Sorry about that. Thank you, folks, for your patience. Manuel Jimenez has got to run. That's understandable. You can always watch the replay. Sylvia says, south side of Chicago. Sylvia says, what's most important to you quality-wise? That's a difficult question to answer. I think I just want to stay off the floor. So I don't necessarily need an amazing experience. I just need to avoid a bad experience. So there's 3 things that will prevent you from getting a good Google review absolutely. And that's clean, comfortable, and quiet. If a hotel stay is clean, comfortable, and quiet, then probably, unless you straight up insult me, the worst you can get is 4 stars. So let's say that, I check into a XYZ hotel and the bed is comfortable and somewhat, it's been replaced within the last 10 years. The bed is comfortable. The bedding is clean. You can tell housekeeping's done a good job. It's quiet. I'm not hearing rugrats running around on the floor above me. It's not like right across the street from a railroad depot. Yeah, clean, quiet, and comfortable. Then even if the breakfast kind of sucks, the worst you're going to get is a 4-star review. So I just want to meet that clean, quiet, comfortable standard. If the room is small, if they don't have enough towels, I'm disappointed, but I can live with it. I thought it would be fun to go over with each chain of hotels for me personally, and I don't have as much experience as some people, what the best and worst experience that I've had at each of those is. So let's go ahead and do that. As far as Best Westerns go, I don't have a lot of experience. I probably stayed at Best Westerns in my childhood, but none of them since I got into Points and Miles. I know there's some variability there. My sister has stayed at a Best Western here in the Des Moines area, and she's actually coming to visit me next week and will again. And she said it was great. It was like a Best Western. What's the one that's one notch up from their entry level? I think they call it a Premier, Best Western Premier. It's really nice. It was affordable, only like $140 a night, something like that. Hilton. Okay, so I said Hilton is where you're going to find the best quality. The best Hilton I've stayed at is the Tower Bridge Hilton in London. And this is part of the Hilton brand. And that's kind of confusing because, Hilton has like Conrad, Embassy Suites, Hampton Inns, Homewood Suites, so on and so forth. There's also just a brand called Hilton. So it's the Hilton brand by Hilton. It was one of those. Usually these are more like their signature properties in big cities, dense areas, that kind of stuff. And it was called the London Tower Bridge Hilton in London because the famous Tower Bridge, the one that kind of looks like a castle, is within very easy walking distance. There wasn't anything that like stood out as one thing, but they just did everything right, from the check-in experience to the, I'm not sure if concierge is the right word, but the person that takes your bags and like puts them in a locker until you're ready to check in, because we arrived at like 8 o'clock in the morning, but couldn't check in until 2 or 3. They actually ended up letting us check in slightly early, but not a lot. That's understandable. They were at 100% capacity. Check-in experience was good. The rooms were good. They weren't anything special. We had connecting rooms, one guaranteed connecting rooms, 1 king bed, 2 queen beds for the boys. Because of my status, we had lounge access. So we had the choice to either eat breakfast in the lounge or the restaurant, and both were free. So what we often did was we went and ate our breakfast in the restaurant, and then, teenage boys went up and got some snacks out of the lounge, and the lounge was open all the time, had like a rooftop view, just really nice. And the restaurant had good food, both for the free breakfast as well as paid meals in the evening. So that was the best Hilton I've ever had. I've never had a bad Hilton experience. I guess the worst I've had is I had, maybe 1 or 2 Hampton Inns that were just kind of okay. And the only thing that brought it down was like, if a baseball team was staying there and they were kind of rowdy in the hallways and those kind of things. But that's really not that big of a deal. With Choice Hotels, the best I've stayed at domestically is actually that Country Inn I stayed at just about a month and a half ago in Charlottesville, Virginia. The receptionist with a Southern gentleman, and he's like, "How y'all doing tonight?" Had the Southern draw and very cheerful, and they had free chocolate chip cookies. I forgot to take one when I checked in, and by the time I went back at like after 11 p.m., they were all out. But that was my fault. I didn't use the pool, but they had a really gorgeous pool. Just very clean, laid out nicely. The room was quiet, very private, very comfortable. So that was a good choice experience. Internationally, the best choice that I stayed at was the one in Gothenburg, Sweden, the Hotel Odin, which is a Clarion property. Now that's a little different because they're not really part of Choice, but they're kind of part of Choice. Now they call themselves Strawberry instead of Scandinavian Choice. But yeah, it wasn't a fancy room, but it had everything we needed. It was very communal, the free breakfast, the free supper. That was just awesome. So that was the best choice. In terms of the worst choice hotel, I stayed. Okay, so the same year I got into Points and Miles, 2019, my parents had a big shindig for their 50th anniversary, and we went to my hometown for that. And because it was a special occasion, they got us motel rooms. Well, my parents don't know a lot about travel, so they thought they were doing the right thing, but booked us a Quality Inn. Ironically, the Quality Inn used to be part of a chain called Heartland Inn, which I actually worked for a Heartland Inn briefly when I was in college, cleaning pools. That chain went out of business a long time ago. They were bought by various properties. This one was bought by Choice Hotels. And in the 15 years or so since it changed from a Heartland Inn to a Quality Inn, it really went downhill. First of all, was just like, I hate to say it, but the clientele made it kind of miserable. A lot of people coming in late at night, slamming doors, people that appeared to be heavily intoxicated, people who had just got done smoking something, walking right up to your room. And the other weird thing was they had a pool and a hot tub, and we thought, oh, this will be great. We can watch our kids play in the pool while we sit in the hot tub. Well, nope. The hot tub was outside the pool area, around the corner in a carpeted hallway next to like a side entrance. So you're sitting there in the hot tub in your bathing suit, and some guy walks in through the side door using his key and is immediately staring at you. And it's just super awkward. It was like the weirdest layout ever. It was such an unpleasant experience that the rooms were kind of dirty. It was such an unpleasant experience that we're going to stay 2 nights. But after the first night, we canceled and went to the Hampton Inn for the second night. So that was the worst Choice Hotels experience I've had. If you've had one that was either really good or really bad, put a comment over here and let me know. And then IHG, probably the best IHG stay I had was, again, just a month and a half ago. I stayed at the Kimpton in Charlottesville. It was very swanky and everything was well appointed, and the bed was super comfortable. Might have been the most comfortable hotel bed I'd ever slept in, or at least up there. I've never had any really bad IHG stays. The worst one was at a Holiday Inn in Newport News, Virginia, when I went to see the Yorktown battlefield nearby. And it was like an old condominium building that had been converted into a hotel, which was fine, but the room had big windows. I don't know that they're necessarily floor to ceiling, but they were bigger than usual. And I was on the side that faced the freeway or the interstate. And every time a semi drove by all night long, it was not soundproof well enough. You could hear that sound coming in. I got so sick of it. I had earplugs in. I had a sound machine going. I had the air conditioning on. I could still hear it, like, engine brakes and those kind of things all night long. I got to a point where I woke up and I took all the extra blankets. I took all the cushions off of the couch and made like a fortress in front of the window, trying to cover as much as I could. And I ended up covering about 85% of the window. And that took the edge off enough that with earplugs and my sound being turned up really high, I was able to fall asleep. But that was just kind of a crappy experience. But I probably should have done a better job of reading the reviews, because even though it had like a 4-star rating, there were a few reviews that said, like, whatever you do, don't get the freeway side because it's miserable. And I ignored them. I should not have. I didn't put Hyatt on the list, but for the sake of it, I'll mention Hyatt. The best Hyatt that I've ever stayed in, I stayed at a Hyatt Regency in Iowa City, Iowa, when I took my son to a football game. That was really nice, but it was only one night, and we came in late and left early the next morning, so I didn't have a lot of time to enjoy it. Probably my favorite Hyatt stay was in Normal, Illinois. Bloomington, Illinois are twin cities right next to each other, where the Illinois State University is located, and it's right next to an Amtrak station. It was a Hyatt Place. Even though it was a lowly Hyatt Place, at the time it was Category 1, now it's Category 2. and it was next to the train station. I didn't hear any trains all night. It was quiet. The front desk was amazing. They explained everything. The breakfast was amazing. Just a plain old Hyatt place, and it was really good. Stayed there, I think, 2 nights. The worst Hyatt I've ever had was also a Hyatt place. Interesting that my best and worst were both Hyatt places. It was the Hyatt place near the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix, Arizona. And I think Hyatt probably bought an older hotel and converted it to a Hyatt place because it didn't look anything like most Hyatt places that you see. It just looked old. The bathroom was like weird, like you had to take a step up to get into the bathroom, and the door was tiny and crammed, and it had like, some of the trim was scraped off and those kind of things. It was, the air conditioning rattled funny. It's like I expect a lot more from a Hyatt than what I got there. So there was my best and worst at each hotel chain. If you have one you want to share, feel free to share. We're going to get into the community tab section in just a second here. Sam reminds you all to smash the like button. It's free. I would appreciate it. Icarus replied about the Redstone card. I saw that. I'll be getting to that soon. Did you know some hotels will sell you a brand new bed if you ask for it? I did. They sell the mattresses. So you find your dream bed at a hotel, just ask. Yeah, I actually, you may know in the past, I did mattress reviews online. If you look up my channel called DUGROZ, not DUGROZ Reports, just DUGROZ, you'll see mattress reviews. Now, I never found a hotel that was willing to send me a free mattress to review. But like, there's one in particular people seem to always ask about. I think, was it Embassy Suites? I don't remember. There was some place that was well known for that. Filmo says, I could sleep through an earthquake. I'm kind of in the middle. I can sleep pretty easily, but not that easily. Vincent Pascal is on board. How you doing, Vincent? IHG Platinum Elite status got me a small snack bag at Holiday Inn Express in the U.S. That's good. Good to know. I also found with IHG, the last 3 times I've stayed, my Platinum status got me a free breakfast. Even though Platinum status doesn't guarantee free breakfast, it guarantees you a welcome amenity. And this was at the Kimpton and then 2 different Holiday Inns who don't have continental breakfast. All 3 places, they offered me free breakfast as the welcome amenity. Sylvia says, I can't remember the brand, probably blocking out to protect myself, but several years ago, a friend and I stayed at a place that recommended we use the deadbolt. All manners of deals happening at the property. Yeah, that's not good. QC Man 2000 asks if I've ever had a negative experience like what Sledge experienced at the La Quinta. No, fortunately. And I would not have answered the door. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. He had his peace with him. Let's move on here. All right, so we've got the community tab questions. So on my phone, I post a link on my community tab every Friday where you can ask me questions. I apologize. I got to it pretty late this most recent Friday. I think it was after 10 o'clock at night, where 2 things will be accomplished. One is if you want to have questions ready to go for this specific live stream, you can. And the second is I'll put a picture, usually from one of my travels, though not always, and you can guess where the picture was taken. The only person I know that guessed the picture was Matt Clausen. So I'll share the picture here. We can all look at it together and take a guess where it was taken. So here I am. I'm sitting on a beach. There's a palm tree or 2 in the background. I'm wearing a Florida Seminoles, foot and mouth, Florida State Seminoles visor there. So you might think to yourself, this is in Florida. Matt Clausen guessed Panama City Beach. He was very, very close. This is actually in Gulf Shores, Alabama. I was there not most recent April, but a year ago, April of 2023. So there's my picture, showcase one of my travels. That was a really awesome place. I would go back to Gulf Shores in Foley, Alabama. Ate at a really cool restaurant there. It was awesome. So since Matt made the guess and was closest, I will give him the honor of the first community tab question. What is the best, in your opinion, set of cards for road trip? And are there any that might be changing the calculus? And I asked him to clarify, are you thinking of cards you use on the road trip or cards that you use to fund the road trip? Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. So 2 weeks ago, I did my live stream on the topic of best credit cards for road tripping, where I went over all of those. So your homework for everyone is to go back and find the video and watch it. And then you'll see all those road trip cards that I suggested. If I were to hit just a few, I guess you'd say, highlights, I would mention the Wyndham Earner business card for your gas, because that gives 8 Wyndham points per dollar on gas, and you can use those at Vacasas. I found that there are quite a few Vacasas that would work well for road tripping. And then, you got lots of different choices with dining. Right now, my Chase Freedom Flex is getting 7x on dining, but that only goes through the end of this month because it's the quarterly category. 5x for the rotating 2 because it always gives 2 bonus points on dining. I think the Wells Fargo Autograph or Autograph Journey, whichever suits you, would be a great card to take with you on a road trip. The City Premier, now known as the Strata Premier, would also be a really good choice. Thank you for asking, Matt. Feather Pony, also known as Icarus, says, I was approved for the Redstone Visa Signature. And I congratulate him. That's a card that I've talked about in several of my recent live streams, a card I'm planning on getting for player 2. And I asked him what his velocity was. He said Experian has 7 inquiries. 3 of those were in the last 12 months and 2 of those in the last 6 months. As for new cards, it's 724. My newest card was just 1 month ago. It's the only card I got in the past 6 months. 2% utilization. I was not instantly approved. They said pending. Then a couple days later, I got an email asking me to submit 2 pay stubs for income verification. After I did that, they sent me an approved email. Credit line of $5,000, says 1 to 2 weeks to receive. Sign-up bonus is $150 on $3,000 spend within 90 days. So that's the Redstone Federal Credit Union card. I actually think they have 2 cards, but it's obvious if you go on there which one's good and which one's bad. So you would have to join this credit union in Alabama, which is doable. I think you have to make a donation to some small nonprofit. I think that's an awesome card. 5% on, I want to say, dining and gas all the time, non-rotating. There's a $7,000 cap, but that's pretty clutch. Thank you, Icarus, for sharing that. Over here in the comment section, Thomas Happyuk says, the best choice hotel stay I've had is the Ascend property in Lincoln City, Oregon. Good for couples or anniversaries, quality room, ocean view, bathtub in the living room. Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Filmo says, I stayed at a place called the Knights Inn near Newark Airport when I was about 10. That's the night after asking my family about all the noise, I learned what a lady of the night is. Well, that's a less than ideal way to learn that lesson. Do any of you watch Dude Perfect or have teenagers or kids that watch Dude Perfect? There was one, they do this thing called Wheel Unfortunate, where one of the dudes has to spin the wheel and do a random punishment. And one of the guys had a punishment where he had to spend the night at a Knight's Inn dressed in a suit of knight's armor. That had to be utterly miserable. John R. says, my boss and I talk about credit cards now, as he and his wife have gotten into it now, just approved for the Redstone card yesterday. You were approved, John, or the boss was approved? Either way, that's pretty awesome. Next question. This comes from a fellow content creator, JP Knowledge. Thank you, JP. I imagine with you being a Midwest dad of 2, you must follow pop culture very closely. So who do you think won the rap battle between Kendrick Lamar, and Drake? If you can't decide, which of their home cities would you rather visit, Los Angeles or Toronto? Well, I know this is going to shock you, but I'm not really up on pop culture rap battles. So I know those 2 people exist. I would not be able to name a single song by either one of them. To be candid, I apologize. I do know the rapper Drake had a concert here in Des Moines about a year ago, and there's a college here called Drake University, same spelling, D-R-A-K-E, and I actually went to college there. That's where I got my master's degree. a lot of the students were petitioning him to come by Drake because it would be, hilarious for him to stand next to the Drake sign and have his picture taken, that kind of stuff. He partially indulged them. He drove past the college and waved out the window, but didn't actually stop. So that's all I know. So I will elect to take the second question. Would I rather visit their home cities, Los Angeles or Toronto? I feel like if I say Toronto, I'm getting in trouble because I know you're from Los Angeles, JP. But I guess if I had to choose, I would choose Los Angeles simply because I know of some things in Los Angeles, whereas I don't know of anything in Toronto. Toronto has the Blue Jays and Air Canada. That's literally all I know. If somebody wants to advocate for Toronto, go ahead and do it. But Los Angeles has Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion, Grim Grinning Ghosts. My sister-in-law lives in the way western eastern outskirts of Los Angeles, so we could visit some family. There's a YouTube channel called Adventure Odyssey or Odyssey Adventures, or is it Oddities? It's a young couple, probably in their 20s or early 30s, who goes and looks at like weird geographic things or one-off things in the city of Los Angeles. Like there's a parking garage with a cement car in it, a weird like lighthouse that some random guy built on the beach, the bridge to nowhere, a staircase that was used in a famous movie. And that sort of like geographic oddities really appeals to me. So lots of things I would know of to do in Los Angeles, whereas I have no idea what to do in Toronto. Vincent Pascal says, I saw Drake 2 lanes away from my lane at a bowling alley in Toronto. Oh, awesome. Are you from Canada or somewhere outside the US, Vincent? I remember earlier you said something like I used it in the States, which made me think maybe you're not from the US. I always appreciated an international viewer or two, so thank you. JP says, JP is funny, according to QC Man of Filmo. And John says his boss was the one that got the Redstone card. Thank you, guys. All right. Where was I? I kind of wandered off the beaten path here. I apologize. All right. JP Knowledge. Next up is AP 808. Also, Die Hard might be here. I don't remember. If Built covered mortgages but required, let's say, 10 transactions a month, no sub, please walk through what you would do, if anything. And then there's a second question, which I'll come back to. If Built covered mortgages but required 10 transactions a month, no sub, I would get it eventually. In fact, I probably plan to get the Built card now because I think it's a good forever card. The problem is there's just no way to generate a lot of points. Some of the rumblings I've heard have said mortgages are going to be covered at a half cent per point. Well, right now I get no cents per point on my mortgage. So if I can make 10 very small transactions, get a half cent per point on my mortgage every month, yeah, I'll sign up for the Built card. Absolutely. Would I blow a 524 spot for it? Probably not, but I sure would. So yeah, it would move it from like on a 10-point scale of priority where 10's like must have, 1 is now, probably never get this. Right now the Built card's like a 5. It would probably move it from like a 5 to a 7 if they did that with mortgages. And 10 transactions a month isn't that hard. I mean, you stop at a gas station, put in $1 of gas. The follow-up question, what do your sons and wife think about your YouTube channel? Do they watch? They're okay with my YouTube channel. My wife likes it when I get refer a friend bonuses because that helps us go on vacations. They don't think much of it. They're always interested in kind of the peripheral stuff more than like the actual content. Like, was Sam K from the United Kingdom there today? They've started to pick out some of the recurring characters in the play that is my life. Was Filmo there? Those kind of things. I've explained who John R. is and that he lives in Kansas City. So they're more interested in like who follows me and that kind of stuff. They're very interested in other content creators. Like they've started to learn who different people are. Who Chad from Chad's Money Minutes is, Uncle Luke, those kind of names in the game they've learned to pick up on. Cesar Joel, they find it hilarious. Like if I put a comment in one of his live streams and then he says my name, they think that's hilarious and awesome. So they're interested, but only in the peripheral stuff. A viewer named A Discreet Firm wrote, "Go Knowles," and that's because I was wearing the hat or the visor with the Florida State Seminoles logo on it. Thank you for being here, A Discreet Firm. Scott S., one of my diehards, asked this question. "Hey, Doug, I'm at 424 until next February." I'm assuming, well, obviously that'd be February of 2025. "I'm trying to decide if I should go for another personal card, but I'm feeling I want to stay below for a little while longer. People talk about churning ink cards. I was curious if you have done that or how quickly you would recommend churning them. Maybe one ink card per year, and then after bonus 24-month anniversary happens, cancel the card and reapply 30 days later. Really, the only other personal card from Chase that interests me right now is the Aeroplan card, but I'm holding off until we know if it'll have pay yourself back next year, and I don't want to burn my last slot. Obviously, if it doesn't, keep up the great work." Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. I would not burn that Chase 524 slot since you're at 424. And here's why. I did that myself about a year ago, and I kind of ended up regretting it. It was sort of like, I've got the Chase setup that I want now. I've got my ultimate reward cards the way I want. I've got a Freedom and Freedom Flex. My wife has a Freedom and Freedom Flex. We've got 4 cards for the rotating categories. I've got my Ink Unlimited for the 1.5 everywhere. I've got my Aeroplan card. I've got my IHG card. I've got the business cash for my 5X on groceries, or excuse me, not groceries, office supply stores. I've got it exactly the way I want to. I have attained. Well, there's more to it than that. One of the great things about Chase is the fact that you can fairly easily generate a lot of points through sign-up bonuses. And you mentioned that when you talked about churning ink cards. The thing about ink cards that makes them churnable, at least as of now, is that they don't have like a 24-month rule or a 48-month rule. So I'm not sure what kind of velocity you can attain. Anthony Venture was pretty aggressive on that for a while. Now, I tried to do that over 524 because I saw a lot of people with data points that it worked, and it didn't work for me personally. My wife is still under 524, and that's why I signed her up for the Ink Preferred just recently. And when I think to myself, that 100,000 Ink points we're going to get plus 40,000 referral for me is going to beat anything related to a good setup by leaps and bounds. So if I had to do it over again, I would have stayed under 524 and just kept playing the Ink game. And then once I dropped down to like 324, 224, then pick up your City Custom Cash, then pick up your Double Cash, then pick up your Wells Fargo card. And I think if you just space things out, so you're only applying for like 2 non-business cards a year, and that'd be 4 if you're in player 2 mode, you can still have plenty of sign-up bonuses and not miss out on when something new and exciting comes out. So I would stay under it, and yes, I would churn those inks. In terms of how often you can do it, I don't know. I think once a year at least, if not twice a year. So somewhere between 2 and 4 if you're in player 2 mode. And if you do have a player 2, the ability to refer the other player is pretty awesome. Now, they are going to be dropping that from 40K down to 20K in the near future. If you're planning on getting an ink card and you don't have a player 2, please just either put a note in any of my videos or send me a message on Discord, and I would be not only happy to share my link with you, I would be eternally grateful. Where are we at? Okay, so Vincent was talking about the bowling alley in Toronto. Philmo says, I could not pick Drake out of a lineup. Same thing. Vincent says he's in the U.S. but has relatives in Toronto. Let's see. John R. says it's cool that they have an interest to a degree, meaning my family. Philmo says, Dad isn't the celebrity, but those who follow him are. How very teenagerish. Yeah. QC Man says, I did get one of my boys to introduce me in the state of the credit card video, so that's supportive. Oh, yeah. If they can, and the other boy was in it too. He was the senator that I shook hands with. So if I could invite them into my videos, they would just stand in the background the whole time, I'm pretty sure. Thomas says, could you elaborate on the rule for point sharing with Hilton points? I had no idea this could be big for me. It's unlimited and free flowing as far as I'm aware. I'll tell you my experience. So the family member all the family members have to have their account open for at least 60 days. So, and it's free, to get a basic Hilton account. So if your player 2 has some Hilton points, make sure their account's been open at least 60 days. Log into the person that's sending the points account. And then under points, there's an option. I think it makes you log into points.com. And it's just like share points. And there's no fee. You just put in the amount you want to share, their membership number, make sure you have their name, everything, date of birth, etc. correct. And you just send it to them. And in my case, it's been instantaneous. Your mileage may vary, but for me, there's been no limits whatsoever. I mean, back quite a while ago, I think 2 to 3 years ago, my mom had an Amex Platinum, which we've now canceled. Got the sign-up bonus, a few other things. During one of those bonuses with Hilton, I think this is partially how we funded our London stay. Basically, because my parents live in assisted living, they're not traveling. So as long as I pay the annual fee for them, it's just like a player 3-4 situation. So I paid the annual fee for them, so I got all the points. Transferred from her Amex account to her Hilton account. I think it was 1 to 2.6. It was one of those bonus times. And then once the account had been open for 60 days, I moved it from her Hilton account to my Hilton account, mixed the points together, and booked it. So, yeah, it's easy to do. Phil says 424 is harder to play than 524. Well, I don't disagree with that. William Pinkett is on board and says, what's the best meal you've ever eaten on a plane? Thank you, William. I don't want to come across as hypocritical. I've only flown international business class once in my life. Well, twice if you count once over, once back. And that was last year when we went to Europe. So I have very little base to draw on. I do remember one of the flights, I don't remember if it was the flight home on Delta One or if it was the flight there on KLM business. They served ice cream with chocolate fudge syrup, and it was really good. The ice cream was hard as a rock. It was like a ball, but it was super good. I don't remember anything that jumped out at me as just amazing. It was all pretty good. So I'll share a funny story instead about an airplane meal. How about that? So on KLM, we flew from Minneapolis to Amsterdam to London City Airport. I'm sorry. That second flight was like a 1-hour flight. They called it a city hopper. It's mostly for business people. It flies into the downtown airport, and they fly like 8 times a day, something like that. We were in business class. The meal across the ocean, of course, it was like, hello, sir, would you like chicken, beef, or vegetarian? And my son's like, oh, I'll take the chicken. And they bring out this somewhat fancy dish, and he's like, what's this? It's like, wow, sir, that is a basted chicken with a bouillonné sauce and some creme brulee. It's been broiled in the finest vegetables. And he's like, oh, I just wanted a plain chicken breast or maybe some nuggets. Like, the stereotypes about picky eaters. He doesn't like any kind of sauce or mixing of ingredients. So, like, if you just gave him a plain white chicken breast with nothing on it and some ketchup, he would be happy. So the big fancy business class meal he didn't like. Then on the city hopper flight from Amsterdam to London City Airport, it was like a box, like a TV dinner, like these little perforated trays that you rip open. And it was like a turkey and cheese sandwich with nothing on it. And he was like, oh, I love this. So for him, it was this amazing meal that came in a box. And there was like these crackers that you were supposed to spread this cheesy goo on. He just ate the crackers plain, and they were amazing. So he thought that was just the best meal ever. Rem GB asked this question. With a family of 4 like yours and with kids going to school, the number of vacations I can take similarly is limited. So I end up with a lot more chase points than I can redeem, thanks to ink subs mainly. Oh, hey, we talked about churning a little bit ago. I hesitate to redeem at 1 cent per point when I could book travel for at least 1.5 cents per point since I have the CSR for enhanced multipliers, but the points are stockpiling as I cannot redeem for travel at the rate I can earn with ink subs for both me and player 2. Dilemma? Any advice? Yes, very relatable, and I did want to cover that. So my advice to you would be, if you think cashing out at a penny per point is the best thing, do it. Don't let someone stop you just because you're not getting very good cents per point. But I have a couple ideas on how you might be able to get more than 1 cent per point if you just need cash. One option would be through the Aeroplan card, and I don't know if you have it, and it is a bit of a risk, but between now and the end of this year, they allow unlimited pay yourself back. So you transfer over at 50,000 points or more, and you're going to get a 10% bonus automatically. And then you do the pay yourself back at 1.25. So even if there's not a bonus on Aeroplan points through Air Canada, you can still get at least 1.35 cents per point. If some of you see an advertisement, I apologize. I have no control over that. Please stay on board. So like if you had some pre-planned travel, maybe with an independent hotel or an airline where, point transfer doesn't make sense and you can book it in advance, that would be one way of rocking that. Even like an Airbnb gift card will probably trigger. Now, your mileage may vary. On Chase's ultimate reward earning points, it has triggered for pay yourself back in the past. I've never tried it with an Aeroplan card, but I don't know for sure. National parks, like if you can pay your admission fee in advance, that triggers. If you pay for parking, like if you live in a big city, a parking garage for work or your apartment, that often triggers. So you might have to do some experimentation. So that's one idea, is the Aeroplan card with pay yourself back. Another idea is booking travel for a family member or a trusted friend. For example, my sister is coming to town next week, and it's sort of like she comes to town once or twice a year. It's almost like a respite for me. Not really, because I still do stuff, but she will do a deep clean of their apartment, my parents' apartment. She will take mom shopping for clothes. Not so much my thing. So she tries to cram into like 3 days, like being a helpful child, take care of their parents. So my parents are going to pay for her lodging, of course. So I booked the hotel for my sister. I tried to find a good value. I got 1 night using my dad's free night certificate at Hampton Inn and 2 nights at a Best Western. That one that I said was pretty good. Obviously, the free night certificate, there's no reimbursing. That's just his free night certificate. He should be allowed to use it to pay for his daughter if he wants to. I'm staring at myself because it looks like my mustache is crooked. I need to trim that better. Dr. Doug, where are you? Mr. Roz here. Sorry, got sidetracked. They will reimburse me, but I used the travel portal, the Chase travel portal, to book that Best Western 1.5 cents per point. And I did compare it to another travel portal to make sure the price was fair. It was within like $5 of the cash price. And then they'll reimburse me the cash price. So I effectively sold my points to my parents at 1.5 cents per point. So that's $300 of money going into my travel savings account that I only paid 20,000 points for. Think about like creative charitable things. Like I did that video that was called Benevolent Points or something like that. Picture of me in a Santa Claus hat. I used Hyatt points to book travel for another couple, and I asked them to reimburse me at 1.1 cent per point, which was still a tremendous value because it was over 2 cents per point. So everyone kind of benefited in that scenario. So I effectively sold them Chase points at 1.1 cent per point, and they got a great deal. So there's another idea there of what to do. As far as if you need to cash out for penny points, that's okay. And I think you need to check the life situation you're in. I've often said before, I'm an average guy. So like I have a 401k, I have an IRA, but I'm not maxing it out. So I'm not living in poverty by any means. But then my wife said she watched a video of some lady that packed probably $30,000 worth of jewelry and purses for her upcoming trip, and did a video about how great it was to pack. And like, okay, I'm not there either. So for me, that's the reason why I keep my travel budget and my family budget very separate, is because I never want to say that points and miles prevented me from saving for retirement or saving in general. Travel's not getting us ahead financially in life, but it's not holding us back either. Yes, you could argue opportunity cost. Like if I used a 2% card for everything and put that in a Roth IRA, I would get ahead. And that's true. But, if I used a debit card, I wouldn't be getting that either, which is what we used to do. I usually used credit cards because I at least knew protections and stuff. But I had like a non-rewards credit card from Wells Fargo and from US Bank. I literally didn't get any rewards. So for me, I really like corn. And also, anytime I like sell points or I cash out penny points, they're going into my travel savings account so that I don't have to impact my family budget travel at all. And then I can use that to pay for cruises, not cruises, like a boat tour or a national park or something like that, meals. So that's one option. And then last but not least, if you're doing well enough that more retirement savings would be good and you don't mind, like let's say you've budgeted $5,000 a year for travel out of your family budget. At that point, if you've got over 1 million Chase points, I would probably take anything over 750,000, cash them out and put it in an investment of some kind. Let it grow. That's my opinion. Hopefully that gave you at least a few tidbits if you want to pick my brain later. I thought about actually doing like unlisted invite only live streams where we just chat, but I don't know how that would work out. All right. I'm checking to see if there's any other comments. We went over penny points. We went over the best meal in an airplane. We went on road trip cards. We went over churning ink cards. We went over built. We went over the rap battle. We went over the Redstone Visa signature. That was every question that was asked prior to the launch of this live stream. If you put your comment out there in the community tab after the live stream already started, I apologize I didn't get to it. Just save it for next week. In the if time permitting section, I said I was going to review the earning structure on the IHG cards. Since we're already at an hour 42, I'm not going to do that. If you want me to go over that some other time, we will. And when I do my future standalone video comparing the autograph journey and being a free agent road tripper compared to a actual ecosystem loyalty like IHG, Choice, or Hilton, I will be sure to at least mention that. I will catch up on comments over here in the sidebar. If you'll bear with me just a second. QC Man 2000 said, would all the hard pulls from churning ink cards but not reporting your profile affect your ability to get new cards with inquiry-sensitive issuers, or are issuers more sensitive to actual new accounts? I only kind of know the answer to that because I've only been denied for one card ever that wasn't a 524 issue, and that was the Citi Double Cash. And they cited velocity. Now, who knows if the call center agents are telling the truth or not, but it wasn't the number of hard pulls. It actually said your credit report looks great, minimal inquiries, you're okay. It's just that you've opened too many new cards recently. So I don't think the hard pulls are that big of a deal, but if somebody knows, by all means, speak up. Joe Barretto is here. Hey, Joe, how you doing? You'd be proud. I took all my notes handwritten here on my calculations and stuff. I run all of these calculations on the Aspire card, and is it worth getting? And then I decided not even to talk about that today. Anyhow, yeah, Choice hotels are worth transferring points into from Citi and Wells. I don't know if you saw my live stream 2 or 3 weeks ago where I talked about the preferred hotels, which is a partner of Choice. You can transfer from Wells Fargo or Citi over to Choice, and then use Choice hotels to book preferred hotels. At the time I made that booking, it was 55,000 points a night. Unfortunately, they devalued that, and I'm glad I got in when I did. Now it's 70,000 points a night. So it went from over 3 cents per point down to about 2.5 cents per point. I'd say that's still a pretty good use of Choice and Wells Fargo points. In Sweden and other Scandinavian countries, you get tremendous value. It was 20,000 choice points per bedroom per night, which means it was only 10,000 city points, came with a free breakfast and a free supper every day. Um, I actually did the math once in a video, one of my least popular videos ever. It was called something like Thoughts on Cents per Point, Sweden, etc. Didn't have a very good title, but I actually did the math and calculated on the city side of things. I was getting close to or over 8 cents per point with that choice hotel redemption. And then just a plain old country inn that I did once was over 4 cents per point. So certainly there's stinkers out there, but there is value to be had. There's one I had my eye on. I don't remember what it's called, but it's in Venice, Italy, and it's on the island of Venice, right in the middle. It's an Ascend property. If I ever go to Italy, that is absolutely going to be on my list to check out. If anybody else has any examples of great times to transfer from Wells to Choice and use Choice points, go for it. John R. says, you're above average to us, DUGROZ. Thanks, I appreciate that. A lot of people saying hi to Joe Barretto. John R. says, I'm playing 524 as well. 924, baby. A lot of people saying hi to each other. Joe Barretto also says, I just got the autograph and the strata, so I want to make sure to use the points in the best manner possible. I appreciate you. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you too. Glad to see you here at the tail end. All right. Unfortunately, I've not pulled up a new record for the record of the week. I apologize. Didn't plan that far ahead. So sorry. So I don't have anything else to add. Again, check out today's unofficial non-sponsor sponsor, Mova Globes. If you want to feel like you've got the whole world in your hands, there you go. He's got the whole world in his hands. Sorry, get a little corny there. All right, I'll let it go at that. As always, thanks for joining me. May your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks, everyone. The link will be down below shortly.